What if what you've been calling physician burnout isn't about medicine itself? Stay tuned for a powerful reframe that may change how you understand your experience entirely. Welcome back to the Resilient MD, the podcast and YouTube channel where we have honest conversations about medicine, burnout, resilience, and how to care for others without losing ourselves in the process. I'm Dr. Anna McDowell, certified life coach, allergist, and your host. Today's episode may feel a little confronting, but also, I hope, deeply relieving because many physicians at some point in their careers begin to have a quiet but persistent thought: maybe I chose the wrong career. It doesn't always come all at once. Sometimes it shows up as a subtle question, a moment of doubt, a sense of disconnection you can't quite explain. And over time, that question can become heavier. Did I make a mistake? Is this really what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? But what if that's not the full truth? What if you don't hate medicine? You hate how you're currently living it. When something feels off for a long time, the mind naturally tries to make sense of it. And because physicians are trained to problem solve, we often look for a clear, definitive answer. So the conclusion becomes, I chose the wrong path. This isn't for me anymore. So burnout is often misdiagnosed as a career mismatch, not because you're wrong, but because that conclusion is simpler. It places the problem inside of you. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? We might consider asking something more precise and often more accurate. What about the way I'm living this right now feels unsustainable? Because those are not the same question. For most physicians, the exhaustion is not coming from one obvious source. It's cumulative and it is layered. It's the pace of the day, the constant decision making, the documentation that extends beyond clinic hours, the pressure to be efficient and thorough at the same time, the responsibility of getting things right consistently. And then there is that part that is rarely acknowledged fully: the emotional labor, holding space for patients, delivering difficult news, managing expectations, fears, frustrations, remaining composed no matter what the situation brings. And often doing all of this without a structured space to process your own experience. This is not just work, it is continuous output on multiple levels without true recovery. And over time, that matters. Most physicians did not arrive in medicine by accident. There was intention, purpose, commitment, and that same dedication becomes the reason you continue to show up even when something starts to feel off. You keep going, you keep performing, you keep meeting everybody's expectations. From the outside, everything still looks intact, but internally, something begins to shift. The work may feel heavier, less meaningful, more draining than it used to. And because you're still capable, still functioning, it's easy to dismiss. But functioning is not the same as alignment, and that difference becomes more noticeable over time. There is often a quiet moment, not dramatic, definitely not public, where a thought begins to form. This way of living isn't working for me anymore. Not medicine as a whole, not our identity as a physician, but the way it is currently structured in your life. That realization can feel so uncomfortable because it brings up guilt. I should be grateful. Fear. What does this mean for my future? And uncertainty. What do I do with this? So instead of staying with that thought, many people move past it quickly. They go back to functioning. But that moment, that honest recognition is not a problem. It is the beginning of awareness. Before we move on, I want to pause for a moment. I'm curious, have you been feeling exhausted, discouraged, or frustrated and not quite sure why? Are you quietly wondering if this is just how life in medicine has to be? Well, I see you. You don't have to give up on yourself or your dreams. And the good news is that you don't have to figure it all out alone. I built a 6-week one-on-one coaching program designed to help women physicians gently remove the barriers keeping them stuck and rediscover clarity, balance, and purpose. It is called the Resilient MD, just like the podcast and YouTube channel. If you're ready, you can begin today. Schedule your free clarity call. The link is in the show's notes. This is where we begin to refine what's happening. Most physicians describe their experience with one single word: stress. I'm just stressed. It's been a stressful season. And while that may be true, the word stress is often too general to be useful because it flattens everything into one category. It doesn't distinguish between frustration, disconnection, resentment, boredom, emotional exhaustion. It simply groups it all together. And when everything is labeled as stress, nothing becomes clear. What you experience is not vague, it's very specific, even if you don't have the language for it yet. Different internal experiences are pointing to different things. A sense of heaviness may be telling you something is unsustainable. A sense of disconnection may be pointing to a lack of meaning. A sense of irritation may be highlighting friction that hasn't been addressed. These are not inconveniences, they are signals. But when those signals are immediately translated into "I'm just stressed," their meaning gets lost. And without meaning, it becomes much harder to understand what's actually happening. This is where we introduce you something new, gently. You don't need to solve anything today. You don't need to make a decision. You don't need to create a plan. You're simply learning to observe your experience with more precision. Instead of defaulting to "I'm stressed," you might pause and ask, what exactly about this feels heavy? What part of this is draining? Where do I feel resistance? Not to fix it, not to change it, just to begin to see it more clearly. Because clarity begins long before action. This is the beginning of a different relationship with your own experience. One where you are not immediately minimizing, explaining, or overriding what you feel, but instead you are allowing yourself to stay with it long enough to understand it. Now, this takes practice and it takes a lot of patience because many physicians are not used to giving themselves that kind of space. But this is where awareness deepens, not through urgency, not through immediate change, but through honest observation over time. If you have been telling yourself that you hate medicine, I want to gently offer you a different possibility. What if what you are actually feeling is more specific than that, more nuanced, more informative? What if that question is not, did I choose the wrong career? But instead, what about the way I'm leaving this right now is not working for me? You don't need to answer that today, but asking it honestly changes everything because awareness begins with seeing clearly. Remember, my wings grow when I listen. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another physician who may be quietly asking the same question. Subscribe and join me for the next episode when we will talk about how being the strong one comes with a high visible emotional tax. Before you go, don't miss this. If you're ready to reclaim up to 10 hours a week and make space for what truly matters, make sure to grab the free guide that ties the time management series together. It's packed with practical strategies to help you save time without sacrificing what's important. Grab it now at annamcdowell.com/guide or click the link in the description below. Enjoying the podcast? Please take a moment to rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcast or your favorite platform and hit the like button on YouTube. Your support really helps this message reach more amazing people like you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your honesty. And thank you for allowing yourself to understand your experiences a little more deeply. I'm Dr. Anna McDowell, a resilient MD just like you. I'll see you next week.